talking. They both are really funny.
Good idea.
They just go with the flow. It's the Hershey and Keegs show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday night, 9 p.m., a special night and time. Well, just night, not time. But we are back. It's been a couple weeks, so wiggle those hips and shake your nips because we're going to have a party and we're going to have some fun. It's the Hershey and the Keegs show. We're back.
We're back, boys, and it's nice to be back. Really nice to be back.
A little creamy goodness. That's what I call us.
I think there's no better way for us to return off of the longest hiatus we've had in probably 2 years with a guest that we've talked about and wanted for a very long time.
I've wanted him for a very long time.
Yeah. Our dear friend, national headliner, national treasure, model, face of the transgender community, you name it. There's so much more we can talk about. How about a hand for Kevin Downey Jr.?
Gentlemen,
yeah,
thank you.
buddy.
Now I'm here.
Yeah, baby.
Downey's here.
The JJ boy couldn't make it. I'm a last minute film.
So hold on a second. One thing, you don't do a lot of podcasts, generally speaking, do you?
You know what? I start. I've been turning them down.
Yeah.
Every town you go to, you mean Indianapolis, and I always had a hard time saying no. And I just, no, I'm not doing your podcast. Well, why not? I said, how many people listen? Well, we get like 40 a week. No.
Yeah.
Why?
What's
the point?
How do we get those numbers? 40, Jesus.
No, we got a lot.
Yeah,
we'll get some activity going on.
A few thousand, so.
Then I started bargaining.
Yeah.
I was in somewhere in Arizona. I forget the name. Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, you want to do our podcast? We watch an episode of The Golden Girls, and then we talk about it afterwards. And I said, I'll only do it if you take me to where Bob Denver. Is it Bob Denver who was on Hogan's Heroes?
Gilligan? Yeah.
Oh, not Bob Denver.
Bob,
who played Hogan's Heroes?
Bob Crane.
I said, only if you take me to where he got murdered.
There you go. Where he got
murdered? So they took me to where he got murdered.
Yeah,
and you did
that's awesome.
Yeah, and there was a wreath on the door. I don't know if it was for Bob Crane or not, but it's the only apartment there with a wreath on the door. So I got to see where he got bludgeoned to death with a tripod from the 70s making amateur porn.
Awesome. So for all the bodies that Rex Heuermann didn't kill, we'll show you where Mike hid the rest of them.
So we're taking a trip to Gilgo after this.
Yeah.
Do that.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Mikey, it's nice to see you, man. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
Nice to see you, Mark.
Really
it's good
nice
to be back,
see you.
man. It really does feel like we haven't been in here. It's been
did we
do 3 weeks without doing a show?
So the reason why we didn't do the show, well, first of all, we'll talk about last night. Last night, Mikey had a gig. You want to talk about that gig at all?
Yeah, it was a great gig. I'll talk about it.
So Mikey did a gig at I don't know how much you want to talk about who you were
Yeah,
doing
it was a corporate gig. It was at the Penn Club in the city, and it was a great gig. It was all CEOs and COOs of hedge funds.
And am I wrong in saying that the Penn Club is all graduates of the University of Pennsylvania, the Ivy League school?
Yes,
okay.
exactly. And
gotcha.
I did
okay.
Not belong there at all.
Yeah.
but it was great. It was this guy Brian who runs this thing. It's a peer group, and I met them. I did a show for him when I was doing a thing for them in Crystal Springs.
Crystal
Resort.
Springs, right?
And,
you were in a pool with them. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It was a romantic weekend with an Asian CEO.
So was it mostly Asian and Jewish men? Is that what it was?
All Asian and Jewish men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, I had
So I want to hear about this. Hear about this. So let's tell everyone what happened yesterday afternoon.
So yesterday afternoon, I wanted to tailor the show to them, because they've also seen my regular set before,
right?
So I didn't want to do all my regular material.
So they've seen all the governor stuff, all the
they've seen
fried corn, and
exactly.
butter,
all the lame hacky shit that I do at the clubs here.
Yeah,
and then. So I had some stuff written for them, and I'm like, you know what? I just want to add a few extra minutes. Mark is like a poet laureate, and I'm like, yeah, you got anything? So Mark,
as many comics do, they reach out to me with desperation. Can you
write
some jokes for us?
It was literally hours before the show in desperation. I'm like, I could use a few new lines.
Yeah,
Mark, the consummate professional that he is.
Yeah, consonants. I do
consonants
and vowels.
Yeah, I'm like, why is this all written in capital letters?
Yeah,
and but no, and then he sent me an email with jokes and stuff, and they were great. There was great stuff.
I ripped off 5 jokes pretty quick.
My favorite one was I haven't seen this many Asians and Jews since I went to play Pai Gow at the Borgata on Christmas morning.
Right.
Oh my God, it was great. It killed. Did
it really?
It really did. It really killed. I opened with like my own stuff, my own thing, just because I knew the crowd a little bit.
Tanked, yeah.
And then but then that killed.
How did did they understand? I did some alumni stuff. I did a little research.
They like the alumni stuff because they're all graduates of UPenn.
Yeah.
And they appreciate the inside baseball.
And I'm assuming if you're dealing with a lot of Jews, they like the fact that I took a little Trump shot about Trump University.
Yeah. Well, you know what it was? It's they're all successful Jews, so they like Trump.
Okay.
They go to
Gotcha.
the same school?
Right.
They had it was the School of Wharton, a business school.
University, right.
So Wharton's like an offshoot of the
Yeah.
Penn, and it still went well because what it is also we're flag waving patriots, but we have a sense of humor. You make fun of Trump. Some of the shit's funny.
Yeah.
I made fun of them. They laugh, but they're also level-headed, successful people that are supporting the greatest president that this country's ever had.
Right, of course. Yes, of course. That's what Kevin's here for tonight.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I'm Kevin Downey Jr. and I approve this man's message.
There you go. Exactly.
So overall, it worked out very well.
It was a great
good.
thing, dude. The guy, first of all, I'm like, some of these things that I do, like sometimes you got to chase them to pay you, and sometimes you got to wait for a check in the mail. The night before the show, the guy Venmos me, and he Venmoed me an extra $500. Like, the guy was phenomenal. Like,
shut up. Wait, were you the only comic?
Carla came because there was also some attorneys there. So Carla is an attorney, so she came. She did 10 minutes up front.
Wow.
And and it worked out great. She did some attorney stuff, and they loved it. And
Yeah.
so it was cool. It was like, it was just the two of us to do 35 minutes, and it was great.
Yeah, so that's why we didn't do the show last night. And then last week, at first I was very hesitant to talk about it. And then the next day after it, I made a post because I thought I could maybe wake some people up and get people to take care of themselves. I had my first colonoscopy last week. I'd never been under before.
It's for his voluntary colonoscopy.
I'd never been under.
Still haven't paid me for that, by the way.
So I'm assuming, and you don't have to say, but I'm assuming Tony and Kev, who are both in my age range, have you guys already been for yours before? Have you been for a colonoscopy?
I have not.
Yeah, and you're gonna go soon, probably. I'm assuming.
Yes.
And
we could do it right now.
I had the truck stop one, but I don't think that counts. No, I've never had one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I should go though. I've been told I should go.
Yeah, it was.
truck
Well, you know what? You have had the practice of it a lot, so I don't think there's any reason why it wouldn't be.
Nobody's pulled out any polyps in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm surprised though. You're usually pretty sharp on top of those things, Kev. I'm a little surprised. No, you don't usually. Not at all. No.
Have you met him?
I don't know. I thought he was smarter than I was.
I'm pickled. I'm constantly pickled. Germs and viruses flee.
Exactly.
You look well, and we're happy to have you. And there's so
We
much.
actually have video of Mark's colon. No.
We do. We absolutely do. There's so much that.
Yeah, that's on Pornhub.
Because I was in there with the camera because we're always together after, and then
there's so much about Kev that
results were good, right?
Everything's they said they found like one as they always do, like innocent 2 millimeter polyp that looked fine.
Yeah.
So I think I'm okay. I'm going back next week for a follow up.
Did it have teeth and a tail?
It did. There's a picture of it. Looked like Mike Keegan. But it means a lot to us to have Kev. When I first started, and we've talked about this a lot, there are certain people that were kind of douchey, certain people that kind of took you under their wing. Kev was always a good guy from the beginning. I think you said you found the same thing.
Same exact thing. Because you know what it is?
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah, we're not here to kiss your ass, but we are. No, but no.
Well, then I'm out of here.
Downey was always super cool to me because he knows comedy and he knew that we were passionate about it. We weren't great from the beginning.
Right. Well,
as,
one of us.
Well,
yeah.
As great as we are now, but Kevin realized that there's some talent there and there's some passion, and we're gonna stick with it. Because Kevin appreciates comedy, and he's always cool to us.
And you know what? I didn't get a laugh for my first 6 months, and I was thinking about quitting.
Yeah.
And all I was doing with these open mics in the city where it's just comics looking at their notes. And after 6 months and not getting a laugh, I was like, man, this might not be for me. And this comic who, for no reason, just said, hey, Kev, great stuff. You're a great writer. You don't worry about these knuckleheads looking at their notes. You wait till you get in front of a real crowd. And that kept me going.
Yeah.
And then another point where it's like, I'm just going to get out of this. Someone just said something and, all right, well, maybe I'll keep going. So I've always tried to pass that on.
So do you remember who some of these people were? Just
Pete Strunsky. Pete
Strunsky, okay.
Was the first guy that made me not want to quit comedy.
Okay.
Yeah. He was definitely one of them.
And when you started,
The
did
first
you
one.
start in Detroit?
No, I started in Manhattan.
Okay.
So you grew up in Detroit. You grew up on the 8 Mile, and if you didn't, just say you did, just for the sake of the story.
No, see, Eminem is actually not from Detroit.
Oh, tell us more.
Oh, juicy.
Eminem. So he's from 8 Mile. 8
Yeah.
Mile is the northern border of Detroit. Right
Yeah.
over that is a town called Warren.
Warren.
That's where he's from.
Wow.
He didn't, as I understand it, he did not actually grow up in the city of Detroit.
Huh,
So
interesting.
you did, and you grew up. Was it a middle class? Like, what? Give us a little idea as to your background in Detroit, Michigan at the time.
So it was a blue collar, I would say lower level working class neighborhood.
Yeah.
Where everyone's dad worked either as a civil servant or most of them in the auto industry.
Okay.
And it was one of those places where men drank beer out of cans and told racist jokes while not wearing T-shirts on Saturdays or Sundays if they had to work Saturdays. Right across the highway.
Like me and Kevin called Tuesday afternoon.
Yes.
But,
So the house we grew up in, there was a backyard and there was a bar right over here, but the spillover parking lot was behind us. There's a highway and then there's a project. I could see the projects from my bedroom window.
Yeah. So you've done video before back in the neighborhood, and it doesn't look great nowadays, right? Your neighborhood is kind of like
it's way worse now. Yeah.
And so then it was your house looked kind of small, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you had how many brothers?
One
brother. Okay, so you and Patrick, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so humble means you were the funny kid, he was the funny kid, you were both funny kids. I mean, what was
Patrick did comedy all
Yeah, he
also
did comedy
comedy.
for a while too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the time, I mean, we moved out when I was 11 after we'd all been beaten up or stabbed or had a gun pointed at us. I had my first racially motivated ass kicking when I was 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
And I was positive it was members of the Jackson 5 because that's how young I was, and that's
yeah.
one of them was
You bitch. You bitch, Downey.
one of them was Janet.
Beat it, Downey.
So
Who's
yeah.
that Latoya bitch that's fucking always picking on?
Latoya Downey Jr.
Yeah, I didn't know, excuse me, until we moved, until I was older, I didn't know riot season wasn't a thing for the rest of the world. Like, my mom would say, riot season, you got to play inside when you get home. Don't go outside.
And that was legit.
Oh, yeah, every spring there would be riots.
Holy
They
shit.
had big ones in, I think it was 67 or 68. But after that, every spring there would be race riots.
Wow.
It's just the way it was. And so coming home, we would just look down the blocks and dodge any gangs we saw, black or white. You just didn't want to get involved.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had no idea that wasn't normal. I had no idea that when the police chopper was over the projects, that kids everywhere didn't go home because that meant they were searching for someone. And you could get to the projects to where we were, like a healthy 20-year-old guy in under 90 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
So this was just your normal. You were not.
Yeah.
So you eventually figured out that it wasn't normal for most people to live like this, but it was how you grew up. So you knew nothing different.
I was watching a rerun of Leave It to Beaver, and they go, "Mom, we're going to the pond to chase pollywogs," and I'm watching, going, "How fake! You can't do that. The black kids will beat you up.
Like we're not
You
allowed
can't get
to
to the ponds."
We're not allowed to call them pollywogs.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was like, "This is so fake." And then as I was older, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. No, I see. Now I get it. Now I understand."
So you guys, you moved when you left Michigan, or you?
No, we're eating dinner, and there's a family. There's a Mexican family who lived next door,
Yep,
4
out.
kids.
That's it. No, that's all right.
And the oldest one, he would join the Air Force, and he came back. He's 18, and he's back in the neighborhood. Everyone's happy to see him. He's in the Air Force, and we're eating dinner. And my dad's chair faces the window in the dining room that looks out at
The picture window looks outside on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just slams his fork down and goes, "That's it, we're moving." And Franz comes out in a white shirt, and it's just covered in blood. He'd been jacked up
Holy
by
Jesus.
some of the locals. And I'm telling you, we all had it. Everyone got their asses kicked. My friend, I don't want to say his name because I don't know if I can, in high school, in 10th and 12th grade, had a gun shoved in his face in the school.
Wow.
And it was just that bad. My next door neighbor, see, my parents sent us to Catholic school because they knew we were pussies and we get killed. But my next door neighbor, the first day of junior high, he goes to the bus stop, and he's the only white guy, so they just beat the potato salad out of him. And a big black kid who pulls him, you can't take the bus. It's going to happen every day. You need to walk a mile and a half middle of winter. We only had to walk 1.1 mile in one direction to get to school.
Not bad.
So yeah. So, but when Franz was, that was it.
That'll do
and we
it.
left instant. We didn't even finish the school year. They got us out like 3 weeks early because we just like my dad's like, that's it. Summer's here and it's going to get worse. Let's go.
Okay, so you picked up and went where?
Sterling Heights, Michigan.
Now how far is Sterling Heights from where you were?
They didn't have the highway then, so I'd say it's about an hour to the
Okay.
north. All right, so 8 Mile,
Yeah.
Warren, Sterling Heights.
So
Okay.
Dad had to pick up, leave his job, find a new job. Like,
He drove an hour 15 to
Wow.
work every day.
son of a gun.
That's an American.
Yeah, so we finally moved to the west side because we were in the west side of Detroit.
Yeah.
So we moved. We only stayed there a year. We just had to get out.
Okay.
And we rented my my uncle's house. He was moving. So we moved to Westland, Michigan, which is sort of a kind of a white trashy sort of.
Yeah.
It was perfect for us. It was perfect for the Downey family.
Okay. But it was safe.
We moved to Downey, Michigan.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
It was much safer.
But you were no longer in jeopardy of maulings, daily maulings every day.
No.
No more.
Like my parents wouldn't let me get a paper route because there was this guy called the Oakland County child killer, and he drove a purple gremlin. That's about to become important because Detroit was crawling with purple gremlins at the time. So as kids, we'd be playing.
We're not allowed to call them that either.
And we just laugh and we'd laugh and run. But yeah, it was that bad.
So the purple gremlin was a regular. It was like a white Toyota basically nowadays. Like
Yeah.
it's a very common vehicle.
All they knew is this guy was killing kids. He was mostly in Oakland County, but they were afraid he would get some in Detroit,
Okay.
which is Wayne County. And all they knew was he had a purple gremlin and like white Toyota. Exactly. There's just so many.
Yeah.
And thanks to the Oakland County child killer and other people.
Yeah.
My brother was in 3rd grade, and some girl in his class got snatched.
Just like that. Poof.
Yeah, and they found her wandering at the airport, and you can figure out what had happened to her
in
before
Yeah.
they found
between.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just every reason to not be there. And I want to say this because I know liberals say, well, poverty brings crime. Those people, they want to feed themselves. No.
Yeah.
The crime comes first and then the poverty, without a doubt, because the crime just enveloped our neighborhood. Everyone took off. And then poor people moved in because the houses were so cheap.
Right.
Or these guys called blockbusters. My dad didn't know this. He sold the house to a blockbuster who rented it to drug dealers. Now all the houses are leaving, and he's buying them all up.
Yep.
And he's renting them all out, and he's making money. He's not even paying the mortgage.
Right.
So the crime comes first, and then I'm sorry. The crime first,
Yeah.
then the poverty.
Yeah.
So at what point? I mean, this it sounds like an incredibly great childhood. At what point did you say, "I am getting the fuck out of Michigan"? In general, when did you say, "I'm moving"? I mean, you obviously landed in the city at some point, but was there something in between? Was it Michigan and then something else, or was right to Manhattan?
No, there was. Okay, so we're living in the suburbs. I graduated high school. And my dad says what every auto worker says to his son when he's 18. Hey, you want to work in the factories? And I'd watch, and my mom's working in one. They come home filthy, and sometimes they don't come home. They go to the hospital. It's the last thing I want to do.
Because of what, breathing issues, shit like that? Like they're just
No, my dad was
Cutting metal.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
like my mom would get something in her eye, and she'd have to go have it removed.
Okay.
My dad was putting pieces in a machine, and the thing came down and grabbed his hand and pulled him in.
So you'd lose a few digits like
So
that.
you could, yeah. They had to dismantle that machine while this thing is
Right.
going through my dad's hand. A
Yeah.
good 45, like these guys dismantling this thing to get him out.
Christ.
And I was just like, nah, I don't want to live here anymore. This is horrible.
Yeah.
So I was going to a community college, hate to brag.
In Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not graduate, hate to brag again,
Yeah.
to study law enforcement. And the 14th time I got pulled over, the cop said, you're going to lose your license. What's plan B? And I said, I don't know, maybe go to New York and study acting or be a comedian. He goes, do that. You won't have to drive. And that's so I went.
So a cop gave you the advice. So you picked that. You're at what, 20 at this point, something like
20,
that.
yeah.
So you're 20 years old. You land in Manhattan, and you were working. Is that your first gig? Was the switchboard for the company? You were working.
No, my first gig I was a busboy at the ice rink at Rock Plaza.
Yeah.
In the summer, it's a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I've got a friend there, and I went to visit him, and this is why I wanted to move to New York. And my brother and I moved there. Excuse me, I'm 20, he's 18. And my friend goes, hey, I can get you a waiter job where I work. And so he does.
Yeah.
He's got the pull.
For you and Pat? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're both getting hired on as waiters. And he goes, you'll make, now keep in mind, this is 1986. So walking away with $1.50 a day is crazy money.
Crazy money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So we're there, we fill out the paperwork, and da-da-da. And he goes, let me see your IDs. He goes, you're not 21. I go, no. He goes, oh, I can't hire you to be waiters. You got to be 21. And now we've been in town 3 days, maybe 2.
Staying where? You're just in a hotel at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're staying at the YMCA, where it's fun to stay at.
It is fun.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, I found a pube on my pillow the first night there.
Oh, so
I'm not kidding.
And it was attached to a penis.
So he goes, I can't hire you.
Mikey came back funny.
And then,
left that way too.
just out of the worst movie you've ever seen, just as he's telling us we can't work there, 2 busboys start punching each other.
Stop it.
Yep.
Wow.
And he goes, hold on a second. You're fired. He goes, all right, you guys want busboy jobs? You go, yeah, we'll take that.
Wow.
Dude, that's divine intervention right there.
I know. That's what I thought. I was like, how does this happen? This is out of a bad after school movie.
Yeah, that's
phenomenal.
how Scarface started, I
Yeah.
think.
Exactly.
So,
That's
we did
terrific.
that. And I think that was my first job. I think my second job, I got fired for my second job. My third job, I was an elf at Macy's Santaland.
Wow,
So
no
$5
shit.
an hour.
That's
$5 an hour to be an elf. And then I got a busboy job at it was really big at the time, a nightclub called the Palladium.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. I don't
In the 80s, it was humongous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the place. It was what's the one before that from the 70s? Studio 54.
Yeah.
It was the same guys who got this one. And this thing was monstrous.
Yeah.
And $5 an hour. Then after you're there a while, you get to be the men's room attendant. So you got to buy a bunch of colognes. You get
Dream job for Downey.
That's where it all started.
That's it.
and man, did I clean up. That's all I'm going to say.
I was walking out with $2,000 a night.
So dreams do come true then.
Yeah, it's another one of those magical New York City moments.
Kevin, we never hired you. Stop coming here. That's fucking amazing.
wow.
Okay, so at some point, though, you wound up, I remember you told me this years ago, you wound up working as a switchboard operator, I believe. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yep.
For a major company or something? What was it?
No, a small company that was before the internet, so they had people answering the phones.
Yeah.
And I just started as an operator, clawed my way to the top. Hate
Yeah.
to brag.
You did.
Supervisor at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was the last day job I had.
So but I remember what you told me, you were doing this day job, but you were trying to get gigs and you were hustling.
Yeah.
And you were out there walking the streets of the city, jumping from club to club.
Oh yeah, every night I was a bartender briefly at a pool hall that didn't serve alcohol. It's just like sandwiches and sodas and coffees. I did that for a little bit, but then I was I got this gig and I had the nights off, so I would do every bad open mic out there. But I never saw a real audience for probably I don't know, a year.
Wow.
2 years.
Yeah.
Easy. It's the same knuckleheads every night. Tuesday nights, when I was doing that bartending gig, they said, what night do you want off? You get one night off a week. I said Tuesday because there were 3 open mics I could do. So, but now, and there were open mics all over the joint. You just had to show up.
Yeah.
And they're horrible. They're city open mics where there's no one there to watch. And it's just, you walk in, it's like a funeral.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, eventually, you get in front of a real audience and go, hey, that was kind of fun.
Now, was Pat with you, or he was already done by this point?
I started before him. He
Okay.
he moved with me. Then he went back to Michigan.
Okay.
And I just like sent him a letter saying this comedy thing is great. And I was just an open micer.
Yeah.
It was horrible. This is great. So he comes out now, and now he starts doing it. So now we're doing all these clubs together.
Okay.
And the first real audience was at a place in Hackensack called Main Street Comedy Cafe or something like that.
Legit comedy joint, was it?
Yeah, and the MC was Brian Scott McFadden, who had a
Ah,
couple
look
years.
at
that.
He had a couple years on me at the time, so he had a real act.
Yeah.
So he would MC every Wednesday, and you would go out, get your 5 minutes, and they made me go first, which I hated, but I loved because it's one of the harder spots. So
Absolutely. We talk about this all the time. Yeah.
yeah. If you start off, I want to go fourth. You're not going to grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% exactly.
So either go first, go last, take the hard spot.
Yeah.
And then it has always worked out for me. My first TV thing, Comedy Central. Downey, you're going first. Everyone went, oh, thank God. And I was like, cool, I'm ready. I
Yeah.
guess.
Absolutely.
Battle test yourself.
We say that a lot. I take it as a compliment when people ask me to go first. And,
Yeah.
You know, and or I always loved following a headliner and trying to see if I did well after a headliner.
Yeah.
You know,
I was at, I think it's called Black Crow or something, comedy club on their open mic. I was on a road run with my friend Eric Potts. And we had a night off.
that's your
and
boy.
We're in somewhere in North Carolina. I'd know the name if I heard it. Anyway, they've got this club. And then it's open mic night. Let's go. So we get there, and there's 18 comics lined up, and the number one spot's open. So I put my name in.
Yeah.
And the manager comes over to me. She goes, "You sure you want to go first?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I know who you are. You don't have to. We'll bump someone." I said, "No, thanks. Let them see.
there you go.
Yeah.
Let them see that this is how you do it
This is after you're already doing it for a bit, though. You're already
for
doing
decades." Yeah.
And
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
also notice, like, even now, like if I stop by an open mic or even the other shows I do, if it's a showcase, the guys that want to go fourth and fifth are the guys that don't stick around.
They don't stick around. No.
They want the easy spots. They want to play t-ball, and you're not going to get better, and you're not really
Nope.
serious about this.
So, how long did it take? I remember sitting in the green room once years ago, and Truson had said to me, like, "You're not a comic until you do." And I remember him. I think he said like 1,000 sets. Or,
1,000 sets. Yeah, he said the same thing to me.
At what point did you feel, number one, did you feel like you were a comic? And when you started, you didn't, the persona that we know as Kevin Downey, which is the drinking, sexually misinterpreted, that you're shtick now. You weren't that guy
Shtick.
then, right?
You never hung out with the guy?
So here's what happened. I had such paralyzing stage anxiety. I had to make it part of my act. So I was just acting like a little weirdo sort of thing.
For the beginning we're talking about now.
Yeah. Once I realized I couldn't hide it.
Okay.
And I wasn't going to be the Jerry Seinfeld type. So that's always been there to some degree or other.
But that's not part of your persona on stage now, though.
No, it's just sort of morphed into what it is now.
Okay. So you're saying like a Joe Maki type, like where he's like acts like a little nervous on stage, like that kind of thing was your thing?
Yeah, but I threw in some weirdo too.
Okay.
I always just want to stand out, be, if nothing else, I want to say, who's the weird guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
But you weren't drinker guy then? You weren't like
No.
Okay.
No, that came years later when
Okay.
I was like, hey, if I have a couple of drinks, I'm not nervous. I'm going to do that. And a former manager said, we're going to call you the drinking man's comedian, which is a bad idea because then I was drinking way more.
Right. You know, everybody's buying you
No,
drinks.
no, but you're not.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
go up with a drink, but you're not trash when you go up there. No.
no.
The other night was
Yeah,
different.
the other night was-
I'm just
I
curious.
forgot I had a
Like,
show that night.
Sunday night was a
which
different
came
story.
first, drinking man, or you going up there with a purple velour jacket?
Purple velour jacket.
Was first. That
Yeah.
guy was first.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that happened, and then sip and so forth. I mean,
Sip came on a road gig where I was working with R.C. Smith.
so let's just talk about time wise, because you started now. It's going on 30. How many?
It's 30. It's 35 this year.
35 years.
Congratulations, a milestone.
So you're working with RC. We're talking not that 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
No, this is 20, 25.
Okay,
No,
so you're in
28.
So you're in 6-7 years only at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And-
you're on a road gig with RC, who's a big time comic, a crowd warm up guy, and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah, and we're doing this gig up in this town up north, and we get there, and the guy goes, "All right," and we're supposed to be co-closing. Roger Paul gets us the gig. He says, "You got to do 35 minutes each." I have 30. I figure I can dance for 5. I want the money that he's the big $1.25 or whatever he's giving me.
Yeah.
I think it was $1.25. So we get up there, and the guy goes, he's like this fake mobster type. And he goes, last comic who was here last weekend, he started a fight, and I almost broke his. He goes, I broke his ring finger. That cocksucker. He cost me $300. He said something. They threw a glass. So don't fuck around. And we're like, oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, Downey, you're doing 45. Mr. Smith, you're doing 30. And I go, we're told we're doing 35 each. He goes, no. Mr. Smith didn't set a headshot like you did. So now you're the super headliner. I said, I don't have 45 because I don't want my finger broken. He goes, so do 40. I said, I don't know. I said, I was told 35. He goes, do 40 and do not piss me off. Wow. So R.C. Smith goes, what the fuck are you going to do? I said, I guess I'm going to take up a beverage and take a lot of long, slow sips.
There you go.
So I'm moving slowly. Then I just pick it up. I look at him and I just go, sip. Like I do a long sip. And And by the second or third time, they're all going, sip.
Are you?
Wow.
So it was just born one night. That was it. It was
That's it.
born on one night.
When I didn't want my finger broken.
And people that are watching, if you don't know, part of some of Downey sets, he'll take a sip of something, sip. And now still the same way. After the second or third one, the whole audience joins.
There's
in,
a large.
sip.
Plus,
Yep.
he has
Sip.
followers now.
Yeah.
He has a following.
Yeah.
Which is interesting about your act, though. I was going to say to you, well, you didn't think you had the ability to stretch, and sometimes for people who are not familiar, if you're a comic on stage and they want you to go longer, someone will do that. They'll do like stretch, go a little bit longer. But because you're a comic who has set jokes, was that what potentially limited you to be able to stretch? The fact that you would have had to do crowd work or something like that, where that was not your comfort level at that point?
At that point,
Yeah.
I had nothing but the jokes. Excuse me. Yeah, I was not really a crowd. I can do crowd work now.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's fun, but sometimes you gotta have jokes, unless that's
Yeah.
your act, unless
Yeah.
you're known as like that guy.
Right. But then you had your stock material. You didn't have a lot of ability to do crowd work.
No.
So stretching was not that easy for you.
Right. So I
Yeah.
just slowed everything down, and I was like, oh, and I realized I was rushing myself.
You mean previously to that night?
Yeah, I was like,
Okay.
well, you slow down a little bit, you get bigger laughs.
You have bigger laughs. You have more time in between jokes,
Yep.
and they're also kind of you're kind of training the audience to laugh. Also, like this is where
Yes.
you're supposed to laugh. I'm taking a pause now.
Yes.
And, that's
I find that to be, and certainly I don't perform as much as either one of you guys, but I always find that my pacing sometimes is too quick, that I need to be able to slow down.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was. It might have been one of the communists that you were talking about earlier, but someone had told me, I guess I was in year 3 or 4, that I had to stop stepping on my own punchline because I would deliver a joke, it would get a good laugh, and you know what? It was probably Keith Anthony, because Keith Anthony, if you know, watching him, he almost prefers when the audience comes to a dead halt. So he likes the yo-yo,
Yeah.
where he likes to bring them up into a fury and then bring them down again. And for me, I was always afraid to ever hear silence.
Me too.
So I was always rushing and stepping on the punchline. I probably still do it to some level. You obviously have a comfort level for performing all these years, so many nights a week, that you don't mind the quiet if you have a little bit of a pause.
All right, I used to be the same way. That's why I do one-liners. I feared, like, just get to the laugh. And
Yeah.
someone said to me, you know what, we're still laughing, and now your next joke's we can't hear it.
Right.
yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm in the Keith Anthony thing. Just let it get really quiet and enjoy, like, embrace that silence.
Yeah.
Because it puts him on edge. Because what's he going to do? How come he's not talking? What's he doing?
But you don't feel on edge at all anymore.
No, but that's why I did one-liners, and that's why I was going so fast.
Yeah.
Is that amazing? So, but now, I mean,
I love sometimes I'll get 30 minutes and nothing but silence. It's great.
right.
It's fucking great.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
you know,
That's right, you're waiting for the
I'm like,
yo-yo.
I got you guys right here now.
in the palm of my hands. But I have seen you do, and you've done it more over the years. I mean, I've been doing this now. I started 2010, so 14 years. You definitely do more crowd work. I don't know if that's just a byproduct of what comedy has become, but you're definitely more comfortable with it. You're better at it. You seem to be able to do it more than you were 15 years ago, 14 years ago.
Yeah, it occurred to me at some point you have to know how to do crowd work.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't want to hear jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now after 35 years, I enjoy it. They enjoy it.
Yeah.
And now here's the thing. You can do crowd work, and you can do material disguised as crowd work.
Right.
And people think, "Well, that guy can't believe he just pulled that out of his ass." Well,
Yeah.
I didn't. I pulled it out of my ass 17 years ago. And now-
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of it is just fun to do.
Yeah, like I call it like stock crowd work, but I think the best people who do crowd work, you can't tell that it's stock.
Can't. Look
Right.
at, even like R.C. Smith or Jimmy Brogan's like probably one of my favorite
Yeah.
crowd work comics.
So
Like
when I first started, and one of the people that I became friendly with, who I knew a little bit, was Jessica Curson, and I saw Jessica do crowd work, and I'm like, that's fucking amazing. And then, not that it's not amazing seeing it years later, but it's formulaic. She has a formula that she does where she knows that there's only going to be certain answers to the questions that she asks.
Yeah.
So she has different paths that she's going to be able to go down.
Yeah.
So yes, it is definitely stock material that you just have to be prepared for. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't write as much as I should. I should have 3 hours by now, but the one-liners are hard to write, and they don't always hit me.
Yeah.
And I went probably like a year without writing any jokes, and I know the people like crowd work, and I wanted to challenge myself. So I had a joke that would end up with I think the punchline was pubic holocaust. Mm-hmm. And I say, people get mad at me sometimes. Why do you gotta say pubic holocaust? I say, well, this is my job, and part of my job is I gotta say pubic holocaust. And I'm sure every one of you has a job where you have to say pubic holocaust. And I asked, sir, what do you do? And he'd tell me his occupation, and I would find a funny way for him in that occupation to say pubic holocaust.
That's great.
So you were prepared. It wasn't like, now they're thinking like it's the first time he's ever talking about this with someone in an audience, but you were prepared.
No, because their occupation was different every night.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. If some guy said he was a firefighter.
Yeah.
Or I sell insurance.
Yeah.
And whatever it was, I had to find a punchline for him to say pubic holocaust at work, and that really helped with the crowd work.
Oh yeah.
Because and every time I did, I think there was once that it didn't get a big laugh.
Yeah.
Now, so it's interesting though. You just said something that kind of caught me by surprise. The fact
Pubic holocaust?
that I'm always expecting from him. No, that's what we're gonna have after the show tonight. The fact
I
that
like mine rare.
that you don't that you don't write. Is it? Do you think it's just complacency? The fact that you're at a point where this is your career and you're successful at it. Is it laziness? What do you think it is?
It's mental blocks.
Okay.
And then suddenly I'll write 2 jokes in one day.
Okay.
And then I won't write anything for 4 months.
Wow.
And then I'll get another 1 or 2 in one day.
Yeah.
And sometimes those jokes. So I do a joke now. I don't know if you've seen it about these escape rooms.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
And I have a joke about an escape room now.
Yeah.
Because some guy said, "Oh, we're going to an escape room," and I said, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "Oh, pay $20. You give him $20, you try to get out." And that's where I came with, "Oh, the bitch in my shed owes me $100." So, that's a keeper. And But sometimes like I can sit there and just nothing.
So, do you, as far as your writing all these years, are you just driving and you think of something, it hits you, or I know that there's certain comics, I'll see someone post, say, "Hey, we're going to the library, we're going to write for the next," like, I could never do that.
I can't.
I'll literally wake up in the middle of the night at 3:00 and I'll just talk into my phone. Oh shit, this is funny, and I'll just, think of a thought.
That's what I do. When I first started, it was me, John Ziegler, Hugh Murray, and sometimes a couple other guys would join, but we'd go to like the diner, we'd go to Starbucks, and we'd all write together. And that's not. I
could
got
never
some
do that.
Stuff out of it. We bounce some stuff, but that's not
never.
my process.
Yeah.
And like I'm the same way. Like I don't know if it's laziness or not, but I have a different way of writing. It'll come to me, and then like I said, 1 month I'll write 4 new minutes, and then the next month I have nothing.
No, so when are you going to use those 4 minutes? Because we've been waiting.
It's coming
so long.
It's coming. I'm waiting for my 20-year anniversary.
Because what I like about, now that Mike's been doing this for a while, Tony, he does has some followers, and I'll watch his fans in the audience, and they'll recite every single line the whole 20 minutes. They're just doing it. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. They're
that's why Billy Joel only writes 1 new song
That's
every
right.
20 years.
That's right.
You know what else helped? I started working Vegas, and the guy who did the spotlight and the sound and the bartender, they were friends. And they would just bust on anyone that didn't have a new joke. You'd be there every 3 months, and if you didn't have a new joke, they'd eat you alive.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go back.
So they're comedy savants, basically.
Yes.
They're not comics, but they know what the game's about.
One of them became a comic later, yeah.
Okay.
But they would bust your ass if you, and just like, "Hey, nice set." I mean, old,
Yeah.
but hey,
And that hurt, that you felt that.
yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
You felt that.
They did to everybody, but I was like, no. So I would have a new joke every 3 months when I went out.
Is that amazing?
And if I didn't have one, I'd dig up something old that I hope they hadn't
so
seen yet.
that's really fascinating. Go ahead, Mike.
When I was working in the city a lot, I mean, I never had to write new stuff because I'd have a 10-minute set in the Village, 3 different places that I would work. They're always tourists, so you never have the same audience twice.
Right.
You never have the same audience twice. Here, like at Governor's, you have people that come a lot to the shows because you have loyal governors, comedy
People going
supporters.
to fundraisers all the time.
So
and
that
shit
makes
like
me
that.
want to write new because I don't want to tell the same jokes to people that are
Right.
coming. To
It's embarrassing.
so-
That's an excellent
Exactly.
point. That's a great point, and both of you kind of hit on something here. That sometimes that embarrassment or whatever it is. I remember I used to do. Remember Pontillo used to have the room in his sister's coffee shop.
Sip this.
Sip this, right? The old slip disc.
Yeah.
And if you remember, you did the room. You ever did the room before? Kevin, you probably didn't do it, but you've done the room.
I did it
before.
a few times. Yeah.
I did it like 4 or 5 times. And I remember like after the second or third time, Pontillo's dad, great guy, would sit in the front all the time.
Yeah.
And after maybe the second or third time, he's like, "Oh, I know this guy. I've seen his act 3 times already."
Exactly.
And I remember the time I was going back there, the next time, like, fuck, Pontillo's dad's going to be sitting there.
Yep.
Literally, I wrote 3 new jokes in the time my last time to the time I went there, because I did not want him to be able to say it's the same exact set.
Yep.
So those little things stick with you as a comic.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no question.
I had someone come up to me and say, "Man, I've seen you 3 times. You're great. Thanks. When are you going to write some new shit?" Oh, fuck.
Exactly.
And that just makes you go, all right, now I hate myself. I hate my act. I
Yeah.
have to write. And that sort of thing is inspiring.
Because it doesn't matter what level of success you get as a comic, the insecurity is what makes us crazy. What makes us comedians is that we're always
the person that focuses on the
Right.
one person with the crossed arms in the front row and 250 people are laughing.
yeah.
And I'm sure, I mean, Kev, your act is definitely not typical. It's definitely a different kind of act. So you probably, to this day, still will go into comedy clubs that you're killing, but there's going to be a couple of people that are not feeling your act. Do you still find that from time to time?
Yes, but less of it because I've learned how to deal with that.
Okay.
Now, my act is different because the first time I did comedy, I didn't even get on. There was just so many people I never got on. This would be 89. And
Okay.
every comic was doing an impression of Mike Tyson. And I thought, okay, I want to be unlike all of these people.
Right.
And it sort of grew from there. But if I see someone who's not laughing, I've learned not to say anything because I've gone after them before. And, oh, why aren't you laughing? I'm sorry, am I not funny enough for you? I'm funny enough for these 250 people. And she goes, my dad's in the hospital with cancer.
Yeah.
Screeching
Yeah,
halt.
exactly.
Yeah, and the show's over. So I just let him go.
Done. You're dead in the water. Yeah.
Let him go.
And don't let it bother you at all.
No,
Exactly.
I don't care about the one person.
Yeah.
I have something happen. I don't know why, but it's always if I'm looking at the crowd, this side will laugh and this side will stare. I've had it happen like 5 or 6 times, and I don't know if it's my hair or some bad profile or something, but it's always this side, and it used to happen a lot.
Bizarre.
But now I just learn how to. You can direct punchlines.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
And what else you can do, if this half's laughing, this half isn't, laughter is contagious. So as you're doing the punchline, you just look at these people, and then by the time you're done with the punchline, you're looking at the first row is not laughing.
Yeah.
And then they can catch on. And then you can just keep doing it until you pick them all up.
Amazing.
There's a science. There's an art and science.
I have
comedy.
jokes where like I'm not actually talking to anybody in the audience, but I'll direct my joke saying it to somebody. So I'll see somebody who may not be laughing in the front row, and I'll be like, and I'll direct the judges, make eye contact, and
a
do
whole
one of
table
these.
usually,
And then
probably.
it's usually like no, it's usually
A whole
but it's like the
room.
one guy, and then I'll just be like, blah blah blah, and then they feel kind of obligated to laugh because it's not
Okay.
like they're not having a good time.
Right, so
They
you're,
might just
you're,
not-
you're
Yeah.
a bully comic,
I'm a bully, but
basically.
I'm not talking to the
Yeah.
guy or pointing him out. I'm just like just gesture
I love
towards
it.
them.
How did you, obviously the pinnacle that Mike and I are aware of as far as your career, when you were on America's Got Talent for several weeks, you were on NBC, you were on Rockefeller Center, Radio City Music Hall, the whole 9 yards, working in that setting where the audience is massive. How different was it? Was it bizarre, weird, invigorating, or all of it? Like, what was it?
I had 3 fears in comedy. Cruise ships, performing in England, and doing a TV show where judges have buzzers. And I'm like, I'm going to get over one of them tonight. So you have to audition like in a room like this.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because there's one guy just going,
Yeah.
and then he goes, yeah, you're funny. And then
Just
he sends
a producer or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he sends you to a room where there are 18 producers sitting in a row. Then you got to do it again. And that was hard.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to the audition episode at Hammerstein Ballroom, in front of the crowd at Howard Stern and whatnot, I had done the hard part.
Yeah.
It was just those buzzers that were like,
Yeah.
so
I don't want fucking communist Howard Stern buzzing me.
Yeah, he wasn't a commie then.
I know
though.
he was still. I still was a fan of his back then.
So I got a Snapple, and I dumped half it out. I filled vodka with the rest of it. And I go, I'm gonna have a little anxiety killer.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine comes to see me and fucking drinks it. She's like, oh, you got liquor in here? That's great. So I'm like, So I got to run to a TGI Fridays, have a double vodka.
Wow.
And run back. Now I've had my 2. Now I'm good to go.
You're good.
Yeah. And I just had the set of my life.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have gone better. And it was so much fun. That whole thing was fun. I was hanging out with Jimmy Fallon in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And everyone is just, they're shitting their pants. And Fallon's like, Downey, we got free sandwiches and free cookies. And look at these people bitching. Don't they get how great this is? I was like, I know. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what was,
Unbelievable.
this sounds dumb. I got a much bigger boost out of being on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy in 2004 than I did from that.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I was signing boobs. I was selling out clubs.
Now,
And,
how many episodes were you on Queer Eye? Were you on
Just one.
All
just
of
the
them
one?
actually. Yeah. But they changed it to Queer Eye for the Queer Guy.
And
It's,
AGT, you were on how many episodes of AGT?
So I was on 3 episodes of AGT, but I was on Queer Eye when it was really popular, and they aired it probably because they didn't have that many episodes. So they probably aired it 3 times in the first week that it was on. They just kept repeating it.
Yeah.
And I'd say 6 days later, I was going to the Comedy Caravan in
that's in like Kansas, right?
in
Is it?
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Louisville. And I never had the, oh my God, you're that guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm at the airport, so oh my God, you're Kevin. I'm like, oh yeah. And then I get to the club, and it's crazy. Like a woman, I'm walking down the street, a woman runs out holding her fork, goes, oh my God, you're Kevin. But Mama, it's him. And I was like, wow, this is just from getting a haircut.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That is insane.
It was
That's
insane.
crazy.
And it was like that for a year.
I'm
So-
surprised to hear that you got a bigger boost from that.
Way
episode. But
bigger.
that was such a cool episode. Truson was on it too, right? With you.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So we were talking a little bit before the show about it, but did you ever work with Max Alexander? You remember Max Alexander passed away a few years ago?
Yeah.
Max, I remember once he had told me that from the first time that he was on Carson, it changed his bookings for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just talking about you the other night working for a comic named Moody McCarthy, who I was once on a show with years ago, the night after he was on Letterman, and it really, it doesn't do the same thing, probably because it's different now. It's watered down. There's a lot more shows. It's not like it was just Carson back then.
Yeah. There were
Right?
3 channels, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And everyone watched Carson. So
Yeah.
you could, but you know what? It wasn't that way for everybody. Steve Martin said he didn't get that kick.
Okay.
He said he had to do 3 or 4
Yeah.
before. But some people go on, they'd kill, and that was that. But Steve Martin was his own thing too. He was probably not everybody's
Cup of tea.
But
yeah.
you were, I mean, you consistently were, I remember you were getting booked. It felt like you were getting booked a lot after AGT, from what I remember.
I had a good year from it.
Yeah.
But after the Queer Eye thing, it was just rock star. It was like Beatlemania sometimes. Just, I mean, I've never had someone say, "Oh my God, sign my tits."
And that-
you can touch them. You can touch them if you want.
That was me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
Thank you for
Sorry
doing
about that. That's
was
why we
really
started
nice.
5 minutes late.
Pleasure.
But no, that's true because I think Queer Eye reached a broader audience. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
watched AGT and everything, but Queer Eye was the hottest thing on
Yeah.
TV at the time, and there was less TV, and everybody was watching Queer Eye, and everybody saw it. And
Yeah. I sadly turned down a foursome with 3 of the hottest corn-fed Indiana college girls you'd ever meet. It's just stunning.
that does not
there's,
sound like you
there's
at
got to
all.
be a
I
reason
know.
why. So let's why?
I had just gotten engaged on a TV show.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And,
Okay, sure.
And I was just like, I hope it's not going to be like this forever.
Yeah.
And that whole week, I was just, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd never been hit on so much. Free drinks, free everything. I was in the airport. I needed a case for my sunglasses. They just, you're Kevin, take it. Or I'd be at Panera Bread. You're Kevin, you just take it. Like people treat you
That's
differently.
insane.
Awesome.
Just from getting a fucking
That show was
haircut.
humongous, though. That
Yeah.
show was
Do
humongous.
you watch the new ones at all? The new Queer
No,
Eyes?
I don't even think they're on anymore.
They are
they?
the ones with like Jonathan Van Ness. He's one of the. I watched it all the
Yeah.
time. Like that's my comfort show before I go to
Is it
sleep.
good?
It's really good. They're like super queer now, but like I mean, they always kind of it wasn't like the Carson Kressley
And
was
their
it?
audience, obviously.
But the guy Jonathan Van Ness, he's like non-binary. It gets a little,
Yeah. Well, that's Kev's favorite. I don't know if we're going to dive into that.
Hey, wait.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pride Month,
Yes.
you know what I just put up? You watch the liberals flip. I said, and I had a little rainbow background on Facebook. I said, in honor of Pride Month, I'm going to ask jihadis to stop killing gay people. Let's see how many people share this and if it's more liberals or conservatives. The liberals won't do it.
No, they won't. They won't.
No.
For those who don't know, go ahead.
LGBT people, whatever
Yeah.
supporting Palestine.
We just call them
how are you
Keegans, we call them.
Yeah, go over there. Go to Palestine and see how you get received over there. And you guys won't denounce Palestine?
No. You know what? So I used to be a New York City liberal, and Truce had talked me out of that. But something I noticed, we were friends that were hanging out in the bar, talking about how we're way better than everyone else because we're New York City liberals. And those conservatives, they won't let the gay people get married. I go, yeah, I'm really against that. They should let them get married. And these Muslims throwing them off buildings, that really pissing me off. And they all went, whoa, Downey, let's temper down the Islamophobia. I said, no, they're killing people. And that's when it hit me like, okay, so a crucifix guy over here doesn't think gay people should get married. But they're cutting off fucking heads. And you have nothing to say about that? Yeah, that's when I was like, something's up here.
Amazing that Kev did go from a liberal to now as right wing as it comes. Yet you still, not that you're tap dancing, but you don't dive deep into politics. You don't.
I don't do any politics.
Yeah.
Unless it's the show where they ask me to.
Okay.
Otherwise, it depends on where you are. Like if I'm doing a Roadhouse gig in Ohio, I can get away.
Is anything you want.
It's Trump country.
Pennsylvania, Ohio, any of those places that you do, Virginia.
I would say Eastern PA way more open-minded than Western PA.
Okay.
They're more conservative in Western PA. So it even depends on which part of the state you're in. But if you do that now, if you decide you're going to go political, you're going to lose part of the crowd. I won't say his name, but I saw someone call George Bush a Nazi, he wasn't even in office anymore. Mm-hmm. It was Obama's second term, but he just had to go after George Bush at the brokerage and just lost the room.
Yeah, gone.
And then since in the Trump era, it's just everyone if almost everyone has a side, and they don't want to hear if you don't like it.
So I'm curious. So I know I've seen your act. I've worked with you many times. Do you have bookers who used to use you, but they see your social media presence, which is so heavy pro-Trump, pro-right wing, who tell you stop doing that or we're not going to use you? Have you lost gigs?
Yep.
Okay.
I have lost gigs as soon as I came out loud and proud for Trump. I'm not going to say who because it just wouldn't be right, but I'll tell you later on when we're having cigars.
Yeah.
A handful of people. No, never again. Never again.
Yep.
And that's fine if that's the way you want to be. But here's the fun part. It's liberals. It's the tolerant people. Because I don't like the way you... No, if that's the way you think...
And that's not even part of my act.
It's not even part of my act. Because people have come to see me. I thought you were going to be all political. No, not unless it's one of those gigs.
Right.
Yes.
I lost gigs. Kevin and I did it. We did a live commentary of the debates when Trump and Hillary were debating.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did a live commentary at the comic strip. It was us two conservatives and two liberals. I lost gigs just from that being... somebody wrote a news article about it. I lost gigs just from that.
Yeah. They're animals.
They wouldn't let him open mic after that? That's crazy. So rude.
But here's the fun part. Now... I write for PJ Media, and I make whatever I lost just from PJ Media and the radio show I'm doing.
Yeah,
I have made way more.
So that was kind of my question. Is like, are you biting your nose off to spite your face, or you've managed to compensate for the loss, and you feel so strongly about your convictions that it's worth you speaking your piece, as long as you're getting the money back, is what you're saying.
You know what? I wasn't even doing it to get the money back. I just thought, you know what? There are things way more important than my, Friday night bar gig in Maryland.
Okay.
That'll give you a hint to one of the clowns.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
And that wasn't even a good gig. Like, I didn't even care about those. But Yeah, I have made way more than I lost. But
so you know what you're doing. You're tactical. You're not just losing gigs by the handful because you're flag waving for Trump.
you know what, though? At first, I thought there are things way more important than these gigs. And I saw where the country was going. And I said, I'm not going to be the guy who, 10 years from now, I'm sitting in a my cubicle home, sucking down a cricket smoothie going, yeah, I wish I had said something. I wasn't going to be that guy.
Yeah,
I didn't even plan on making the money back. There were a couple of bookers who said, yeah, I'm on your side. Don't tell anyone. And you know what the best part? So many New York City comedians coming out to me like a gay dude in the 50s. Downey, don't tell anyone.
In my inbox.
Don't tell anyone,
all the
yeah.
time, yeah.
Don't tell anyone. I'm on your side. Don't tell
I
anyone.
agree with you. I just can't like your stuff on Facebook,
Yeah.
People, I'm like, all right.
Gutless.
Yeah.
Gutless coward.
It's interesting. I find that fascinating. Another thing that's very interesting to me, and both of you and Mike are in the same boat with this, is that you do a lot of gigs with your better halves, and that's more recent for you over the past 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. You a little bit longer.
Yeah.
All kidding aside, do you and Collazo road trip together? I mean,
Constantly.
Do you love it? I mean, are there negatives about it? I mean,
No, it's all positives. It's all positives. You have, first of all, the gig saves on a hotel room.
Yeah.
They like that.
Yeah.
I don't have to drive.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the work has made her so much stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first, I said, I can't really take you yet. We gotta work on some things. And
Right.
now, she's at the point where, and I love it. I'm not just saying. I love when we're hanging out afterwards, and it's almost always a woman who comes up and goes, "I thought you should have been last."
Yeah. And
That means I'm doing my job.
if people come up to Carla, and it's often they'll say that to her, I love that.
I love it
Yeah.
too.
So you obviously, I'm not saying you put your neck out, but you obviously were asking bookers and club owners at the beginning, hey, can I bring her?
Yeah.
Essentially, and that was taking a risk. There's no question.
Always taking a risk. I used to hang out. I was never romantically involved with this woman. We were just really close friends.
Yeah.
And when we stopped being friends, I had probably 3 bookers go, "Thank God, you always brought her." I said, "Well, if you didn't like her, why didn't you say something?"
Yeah.
Well, she was your friend, and we would have used you more if you didn't have her around.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, you do take a risk. Yeah. So now that's why I'm kind of a hard ass on her. Like, no, stand up straight or do this. Turn that word into this word. Because it is on me.
Yeah.
It's if I bring someone who bombs, then that could cost me money.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was going after people who had been, booking me for 20 years. So
That's
I
why
said,
when me and Mark were dating, I couldn't bring him anymore.
Couldn't do
No,
that.
of course
Yeah. So were you? Were there situations that will be like, no, sorry, Kev, we already have an
Sure.
opener, or we already have a feature, or whatever the case may be, and you're like, all right, no big deal.
Yep.
It's,
And I might even say, well, tell you what, why don't I bring my girlfriend to do a guest spot? Okay, they say yes every time. And she would kill and say,
Yeah.
oh, next time you can bring her.
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, so a guest spot, so they're not paying her anything other
Right.
than a drink at the bar or whatever, and it's just helping her earn her chops, learn her craft, even
And getting
more.
her in.
Yeah.
I always offer for Carla to come and do a guest spot. She doesn't want to do it because she feels awkward, like she's just showing up, and she, she could try to get work elsewhere or whatever. But most of the time, I never have asked to bring her. Most of the time, it's a booker that knows we're together, knows she does a great job, and they'll say, do you and Carla want to come? Or every once in a while she just come and do a guest spot, and then like Kevin said, next time they just have her
Now,
feature or whatever.
I don't think you ever do it. I don't hear you or Carla talk about your relationship on stage. Do you ever, Kev? Are you ever talking, saying, "Oh, that was my girlfriend," or you don't ever discuss that at all?
Oh,
on
I have
stage?
one line, which is, and this is just so that she and I can pick up chicks.
Yeah.
I'll say, so I really do have a girlfriend. She's a bisexual Puerto Rican woman who plays the ukulele, and everyone laughs, and then she flips me off, and I flip her off, and then we try to fuck girls afterwards. That is 100% me trying to get...
I gotta get Carla a ukulele.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is all that is right there.
But yeah, that's
Wow. That's fascinating. That caught me off guard there a little bit.
More about that?
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I have obviously 2 pages of notes, and that wasn't one of them.
Mark wants to know, it's just girls you bring home? Or,
Well, so it's always interesting with Kev. It's like, how much we all, everything that we joke about, there's some seriousness in it, right? So I talk about my being oppressed by my kids and my wife, and there's some reality to that. Yeah. And you talk about, being the governor and whatever, stuff like that. As far as Kevin's concerned, you will talk about freaky sex antics and things like that. And I guess there is some truth to that.
But you know what? Okay, now, understand what I'm about to say is nothing but a compliment to, I believe it's, is it Hugh?
Hugh Murray?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's hilarious.
Yes.
And there was a time when you would watch him and he would do these like rapey jokes.
Yes.
And they wouldn't get a laugh because they thought he could really do that.
Yes.
exactly.
No one looks at me and goes, he's really stacking bodies.
Yeah,
That's
right.
exactly.
You know? And I think he's hilarious.
He's
Yes.
hilarious, but it's
there was a time when he couldn't get away with it.
because he's the Ted Bundy. He's
Yep.
attractive. He's charismatic. Yeah, that guy.
Not
could
only that,
be
but he was
rapey.
on multiple police blotters
Yeah.
for a period of time.
He's
though.
a, he's a
So-
convicted. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's true.
So, yeah, but I remember working with him and I said to him, man, you are hilarious, but I think they take you too seriously, man.
Yeah.
I kind of
That's
think you might rape me.
exactly.
Is there a chance? I mean, I'll hang out.
Yeah, no, there's certainly. I'm glad we didn't invite you here tonight. That's it.
I love him.
He's
Yeah,
great. He's
we
the
love
best.
him too. We love him.
I can watch him all day.
He's
Yeah.
hilarious.
and he's
yeah.
funny off stage too. He's a good hang.
Yep. He's the best. He's one of my best friends.
He's
Love the
our
guy.
buddy. We've had him and Travis on the show. They have their own show, Treading Water.
Correct.
Yeah, I got it right. I fucking
Man,
got it
look
right
at you,
without
huh?
bungling it. That's good.
You know who was instrumental in that though? Because there was a time when I wasn't getting away with these things as much.
Yeah.
And Truson goes, look what you're talking about. You're talking about killing hookers and whatnot. He goes, Gomez Adams. He always said something. He has a big smile. You have to be Gomez Adams. You have to have a big, silly smile on your face when you say it. And that's when my darker stuff started killing. Because they would just go, ooh, ooh. The same thing Hugh was going through at that time, and that was like 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I had gone through it too. So I knew that, like, his writing was great, but like, they really think he could do this.
That's interesting.
That's right. Exactly.
So have there been times you've given Hugh some advice like that though? Like
I think that's what I said to him. I said, I think they believe you could do that.
yeah.
You gotta, you know?
right,
exactly.
So that it turns the laugh to a groan in some cases.
Because also he's that guy that walks on stage and all the girls in the audience like, I want to go home with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah.
he's gonna R me.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
We could say rape. I don't know why I said R.
right. I was gonna say,
That's the word you bailed on. Huh?
I know, right?
That's it.
Exactly.
I wasn't
All
sure
that
what you meant. He's going to retard me.
He's gonna
2 years of horrific things that we have on tape. And
I don't
now,
know why. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, interesting. So things are good, Kev. I mean, obviously things are good. Your career is doing great. You're happy with Colazzo. You're happy road tripping with her. When you first started, though, what did you picture this going to be? So you're at this point now, and you're paying your bills, and what did you want it to be, and what did you picture yourself ending up as from a comedic standpoint?
Every comedian thinks they're going to be Ray Romano. They're going to get a TV show and whatnot. And I was like, well, whatever happens, happens. I want all of that. I want all of that. And when I stopped chasing that, I got funnier. I was just like, I'm just going to, and I always wanted to be funny and different.
Yeah.
That was always the game plan. But it took tremendous pressure off.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because someone said to me once, what are you doing? You travel and tell jokes and drink on stage for a living. You already won, you dumbass.
Yeah.
I was like,
You
wow.
won, man. You won. Do you feel? Because I feel that for you, but do you feel that? I mean,
100%.
yeah, that's amazing, and that's the beauty of this is that not everyone feels the same way as Kevin does. That's important, though, that you realize that you won.
The best thing a comedian can do for their career is quit. I was doing a show.
You got
in
that, Mark?
Doylestown.
I did. I've done that basically. Yeah.
Doylestown, Pennsylvania. I was in 7 or 8 years. I was middling, and
Comedy Cabaret.
yes,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
and it was 1 show Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and it just wasn't. Nothing was happening for me.
Yeah.
and I wasn't comfortable on stage. I was doing okay.
Yeah.
and I decided this is my last weekend, and it was 3 of the best. I had never killed like that before. I decided I was going to quit, so it meant nothing to me anymore.
Nothing.
And I was
House
like,
money.
Holy shit, I can't quit.
Yeah.
Now I learned. And then a few years later, I sort of stagnated, and my dog dies. And
Yeah.
now I'm heartbroken.
Yeah.
And I'm going on stage, another level of I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Then I get divorced, and that's a nightmare. Another level of I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
And that was at 20 years. I had 20 years in there.
Holy crap.
And
Yeah.
now, here's another thing. Because I have the radio show and the writing at PJ Media, the comedy money is I have 3 incomes now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've hit another level of I don't give a fuck.
I love it.
Exactly.
And then
I
that's
love
how
it.
you kill. You just,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't, who has not seen Kevin Downey, which the majority of my friends who've seen me perform, you've seen Kevin perform, but for any of our viewers and listeners who have not, you owe it to yourself to go ahead and
Thank you.
And I don't say that a lot. I'll tell my friends that about Kevin, about Keith Anthony. I don't wax poetic about a lot of comics, but it is definitely a special thing. And I've seen in local shows in Saratoga. We hung out together, and what he would do to these people, these and it's a whole different crowd in Saratoga. You have these local small town hillbillies, and they're dying watching this guy. They've never seen anything like this guy roll into town before. And then the next thing you know, we're hanging out, and he says, "Let's go over to the alley and have a couple of drinks." And I'm like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" And sure as shit, me and my best friend Dave are in a bar called the Alley with Kevin. It's about the size of this room, basically.
In an alley.
In an alley, and you have to walk down, and people's dogs are in the place,
Yeah.
and there's beer cans that I haven't seen in 35 years, like Rheingold and shit like that.
Narragansett.
Yeah.
When I work at Wisecrackers at Mohegan Sun, Nick Bruce and I will go out afterwards. He's like, "I'm gonna take you to this place I go to with Downey," and it's another same kind of
Cracker
place.
Jack.
Exactly.
Cracker Jacks, yeah. I love it.
It was a house that they turned into a bar. It's the only place I've ever been where you can wake up, "Fuck it, we're a bar tonight."
It's outstanding.
I'm gonna be there at the end of the
Outstanding.
month. I'm gonna go there with Nick Bruce. Yeah,
All right, Cracker
That's
Jack.
great.
Yeah.
Nick Bruce is one of my favorite
he's
hangs.
the best man. He's the best hang.
Yeah, and Cracker Jack Bar, the woman who runs it, she's like 80 something. She opens it up. She works all day. She goes, takes a nap, and comes home. Comes back and closes it.
Wow.
What's her name? Nick Bruce will know. Geez, how do I forget it? Ronnie. It's Ronnie. Her name's Ronnie. And the shots are $2 there.
Yeah, the place is awesome. You can smoke cigars in there.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and like I was saying, adding to what Mark was saying, I don't wax poetically about a lot of people. I love Downey as a person. We have a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
We're very like-minded. But this past Sunday, Downey was on stage. I was just here hanging out. I'm sitting at James, the owner's table, and James is dying laughing. The whole audience is going nuts. And I told James, and I say it to other people, like, I know Downey's act. We've worked together many times. I like watching the audience when Downey's on stage.
thank you.
That's
Because
phenomenal.
that's the
Yes.
coolest thing, is
Yes.
watching people see Downey for the first
Yes.
time. It's different. It's energy. It's a show. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
So
Thank you. Wait, can I jump on something? You just said the key. The key. You can't tell jokes. You have to perform them.
Yeah, it's a
Perform them.
performance, exactly.
Yeah.
Here, I can be, let's say, Taylor Swift. Yeah, I'm singing my songs. No one cares.
Yeah.
You perform. And I try to tell comics, perform the jokes.
Yep.
Especially every time you go to, there's always the hipster. He's got his jeans, he's got his dark glasses, flannel shirt, and I like weed, so I'm smoking weed. And no one cares.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And there are a million of them. Just don't do anything what you're doing. Flush it.
Yeah.
Don't look like everyone
Perform
else
it.
and perform the fucking joke.
There's guys like that, and especially in the city. From in the city, you get the guys that walk in. They're wearing a hat. They go on stage with a backpack on.
Yeah.
These guys go on stage.
Yeah.
You look like you're leaving. You fucking
Right.
You told me about that clown.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. You're
What a
wearing a
fucking
backpack
idiot.
on stage.
you look like Mike's audience.
I have learned more about
Terrible.
performing
Very
from
mean to Mike
Elvis
today. I don't know
Presley.
why.
Elvis Presley than most comedians because he performed.
He performed.
Are you guys familiar with Chris Isaac?
Oh
Yeah, of course.
One of the best shows I've ever seen. He doesn't. He's got his stage clothes.
Yeah.
And he performed, and he's funny as hell. He performs. He doesn't just go out there and sing. I saw the Cars live. I used to love them.
Yeah.
They were horrible because they didn't perform. They just stood there and said, well, these are the songs. Sounded great, but there's no...
Yeah.
Chris Isaac is a great example, and it reminds me of my very first concert that I ever saw at Jones Beach when I was 15 in 1986. Shaka Khan opened up, but the headlining act, which was one of the great performances I've ever seen, maybe the best, was Robert Palmer. Robert Palmer live was unfucking believable because he
Really?
performed every single ounce of every song.
Yes.
He left nothing there.
Yeah.
Nothing on the table.
I do that whether it's 200 people, 300
Yeah.
people, or on a Saturday, or let's say 7 people
Yeah.
in Saratoga Springs. and I got to
Yes.
make them laugh. You gotta swing for the. You can't be too energetic for 7 people, but you have to give exactly what you would give to.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna the last story I'm gonna tell, and then we'll I want to just you'll tell us what's going on, what's coming up, because we're definitely over than we usually am. When I started doing
We
stand up,
usually
MR. When I first started
The machine and broken.
in 2010 is when I started doing
Joey
stand up. But about a year before that, I started going to shows locally. I would go to open mics, but I wouldn't perform. I was just watching. I would watch. And there was one time I showed up on a Sunday night by myself, Governor's fundraiser, terribly rainy night. Nobody showed up. There was about 9 people in the audience. And I didn't know who these people were at the time, but Joe Starr was headlining. And there was couldn't have been more than 10 people in the audience, and John Truson was sitting in the audience. That's how small the crowd was. John was already like, all right, fuck it, it's over with, whatever. And Joe Starr, what he did to these 9 people, they were all gasping for air.
Yeah.
They were dying.
Yep.
And Truson was howling, laughing, howling. And I remember thinking, this guy, Joe Starr, didn't give a fuck if there was 1 person, 1,000, whatever it was. And the line that he kept on saying that Truson was cackling from was, all of you. He kept on saying all of you like that. He accentuated it, and for some reason it killed Truson. I was howling, the audience was, and he was performing every single bit of what he had.
Yeah. He was a great. He could still be doing it. I don't know if he is. He moved away.
Joe is, yeah. I think he is. I mean, I don't know if as much,
Down in
but
South
yeah.
Carolina, not as much, he said.
One of the best stand-up comedy performers that I've ever met.
Yeah.
Just like everything you said. Just
So crafted and so just sharp.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we're gonna probably have to have Kev on again, because I feel like we
can do another
sped
hour.
through this,
Yeah,
and
he's
we don't
the best.
usually go over. So the fact that we're over, we are extremely appreciative. We had a blast tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me,
being here.
boys.
That was
Anytime.
awesome. Anything you want to promote, Kev, before you split?
tobacco.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead.
No, yes. If you're not a communist, go to pjmedia.com and click on authors. I'm an author now, you know.
Nice.
Yes, you are.
I was a columnist. Now I'm an
Yeah.
author.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you'll see my face. Click on that. But if you really hate communists, every Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 a.m., go to linewsradio.com. LI stands for Long Island. linewsradio.com. I have the only funny anti-comedy radio show that's local to Long Island with a national audience, because people who have seen me do comedy and people who read my stuff at PJ all tune in from wherever they are. linewsradio.com. Thanks.
You guys
Boom.
making all
Love
kinds of media great again. Kevin Downey Jr.
What do you got coming up, Mikey boy?
This weekend I'm taking off a little bit. I'm not
Okay,
really
good.
doing much this weekend. Next
Nice.
weekend, Friday night I'm going to be at the Comedy Cove in Morristown,
PA,
Jersey.
right?
And then the big one's the 21st, June 21st, the Brokerage Comedy Club, the big show.
govs.com.
govs.com for tickets. June 21st.
Boom.
Mike Keegan. It's me.
Yes.
Brokerage Comedy Club, 8 p.m. show.
Beautiful.
Yeah, go
Love
there,
it.
get your tickets.
Tony, Magical Mystery Tour. What do you got coming on for that?
Thank you, pal. September 27th, doing a murder mystery at the Brokerage. September 28th, we're doing a game show in the Giggle Room. It's a Triple X Trivia Night.
Yeah.
And we got a bunch of shows. We're producing some shows
Nice.
with Mike Pacetti and
Oh,
Irene
wow.
Bremis.
I saw that's a sick lineup. I
Yeah.
love Greg
Dude,
and Rob from Staten
Landolfi,
Island. Are on it, right?
Tony Landolfi,
Love
a
those
murderer,
guys.
our
Yeah.
boy Landolfi. Good.
Yeah, and we're working on something with Claudia Sherman, who kind of been out of it. She's been out of it for a long time.
She's
Now
back,
She's working
I
her way
heard.
back.
No
we got a bunch of
way,
things
really?
planned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please
She's
don't
great.
put your flyers up on our show, though. It's
She was married to Roger Paul.
That's correct,
And I
yeah.
was one of the few city comics with a car, so I always got to middle when she was closing. I drove her around a lot. She'd wear a wedding dress. I think she still does.
No, she doesn't
Okay.
anymore. But yes, that's exactly.
She
what
was
she's
hilarious.
She was great. Yeah,
Terrific.
she'll be in the Giggle Room.
You ever see those guys, Greg and Rob? They're awesome. They're from Staten
Yeah.
Island. They're twin brothers, and they go up on stage together. They're friggin' hilarious.
I gotta see
love those
I
guys.
call them Rob and Greg. Well, again, thank you, Downey.
Thank
we
you,
love
boys.
you. We appreciate you being here. We hope
You're
you
not
had a
going to
great
push
time.
your own show?
I have a show coming up. This is a big one. If anyone's looking, contact me for tickets. My wife Stacy is running in the Chicago Marathon, so she's raising money for epilepsy or against epilepsy. I don't think anyone wants it. Yeah,
Way to start
against
giving people some-
epilepsy. August 8th. Governors here in Levittown. It's a Thursday night. As long as he's open, Mikey's going to be here. I think Eric Half might be on the show as well. So just shoot me a text or message me if you want tickets. That's it. Other than that, thank you everyone for listening, for watching. To any new listeners who are Downey people, please follow us. Keep on watching us. We'd love